Welcome back to yet another thrilling instalment of Free to Be Who I Be reviews. We've got a lot to get through this weekend. We've got 7 albums coming out that I'm going to review. So let's get straight into it. I can almost guarantee you there will be no entertainment involved in this one. Straight into it. Let's do it. Let's go. Once Human are back with their 3rd studio album, and this is their follow-up to 2017's Evolution. Now, I have to confess that I kind of never really bothered trying to get into this band. I don't know. I'll be honest, if I was a little ignorant to them. I thought they were maybe a style over substance type of band. I did check out some of the singles that were released from the last album, but I didn't really give them any time, and I just kind of, for whatever reason, I just didn't bother with it. But I've consistently heard good things about the band over the years, and it's high time that I check this out as I'm doing reviews again. Now seemed the perfect time. Once Human, of course, is the band formed by Logan Mader, ex-Machine Head, Soulfly, did a whole bunch of other stuff, other bands, and I know that he's done a ton of production work. I think he did Gojira's Master Sirius, I want to say. So he certainly knows what he's talking about. We'll be getting into that later on in this review as well. He met Lauren Hart, I think it was 2013, and God, my hair's grey. That's really disturbing. Yeah, I think he met Lauren Hart in 2013, and he was pretty much doing production work at that point. But they hit it off right away, and they started writing music together, and he's, from what I understand, he's pretty much been concentrating on this ever since. Lauren Hart is the vocalist for the band, and also in the band we have Damien Reinaud on bass, Dylan Trollope on drums, and Max Karen on guitars. And I think we'll just get into it. We'll start looking into the songs. Just wanted to quickly say as well, if you enjoy this video, consider dropping a like. It really does help boost the video and let other people see it. And yeah, drop a comment as well, because it's always good to hear from you, I guess. I mean, you know, you're supposed to say stuff like that, aren't you? First track, Eidolon, I think it's pronounced. This one starts out with a melodic lead line before a real heavy gent riff kicks in, and I really, really enjoyed the bass tone on this one, and Lauren sounds fantastic. First thing I noticed on this song, and this will continue throughout the album, I really enjoyed the production on this. All the instruments are separated nicely. You can hear where everything goes. When you're dealing with instruments, I mean, I don't know what tuning this is in, but it's ridiculously low. It's definitely 8-string guitar territory, if not lower. So when you start getting into those real low frequencies, it can start getting a bit difficult to work out what's going where, but they've done a great job of separating. You can hear all the instruments. I'm not sure whether Logan actually produced this one or not, but regardless, I'm sure his years of experience, both as a guitar player and a producer, went some way to to helping out in the production of this album. You could see I was starting to sort of like, oh, where am I going with this sentence? But you know, I got there. There was some great drum work from Dylan on this one, particularly on the bridge section, which goes apocalyptic. The next track is Deadlock, and this featured Rob Flynn from Machine Head, of course. And ironically enough, this was probably my least favourite song on the album. I do like it, but I don't know, there was something about it that didn't quite fit with the rest of the album for me. I say ironically, I don't know if I did say ironically actually, but ironically enough, this is my least favourite on the album, because I am a huge Machine Head fan. I really enjoyed the riffs on it. I enjoyed most of it, but Rob's rapping vocals on it kind of rubbed me the wrong way for some reason on this one. I don't have a problem with his rapping vocals. I've been listening to the Machine Head since day one, and he's done it multiple times on multiple albums, and I've never had an issue with it. But for some reason, I don't know, it just maybe it just, this song kind of almost, you know, it's the one that stylistically kind of stood out a little more than the rest of the album. I think the rest of the album is much more them, if that makes any sense. I don't know if it does make any sense. But either way, there's some great riffs on this song, and it's really cool to see how far Logan has progressed as a guitar player since those early days of Machine Head. He's clearly not stopped practicing by any stretch. He's a pretty badass guitar player, as is Max. Sorry, Max, for not knowing your name. That's not very good of me, is it? Next up, we have the title track itself, Scarweaver. Lauren sounded absolutely furious on this track, and it was this track, I think, more than any other, that really started to cement the idea of what a true badass she is. Musically speaking, I'm speaking musically now, we get ridiculously detuned guitars of the djenty variety, but musically, I'm speaking even more musically now. There were sections in this that reminded me specifically of Fear Factory, and even more specifically, how specific do you intend to get? Freedom or Fire from the Obsolete album. Now that I think about it, it's actually only pretty much the 30-second intro piece that reminded me of that. The rest of the track was nothing like that at all, but the more I've listened to this album as well, the more I appreciate what Dylan is doing behind the kit. He was absolutely stunning on so much of this track, and in fact so much of this album. Great breakdown section at the end of this song as well, ferocious. Next up we have Bottom Feeder, and once again Dylan coming in with some really impressive double bass work, and Lauren, her vocals on this one, there was a Lane Staley vibe almost. I mean, I know it's always in the, you know, it's in the vocal harmonies that causes that, but yeah, there was a real definite Lane Staley vibe. High energy and fast paced right the way through, and the outro riff is just intense as all hell. This is a really good one as well. Next up we have Where the Bones Lie. This was another one that goes for the jugular right from the off. Real catchy chorus, and this band really does have a talent for melding the ferocious riffs with real melodic lines and real catchy, just catchy choruses. It really is cool. Next up we have Erasure. This was another one where Lauren goes into that sort of Staley-esque vocal territory. This time over some more mid-paced chunky riffage, and the chorus on this one is catchy as fudge. The latter half of the song as well I felt had a bit more of a Lamb of God influence, but sort of Lamb of God through a gent filter, if that makes any sense at all. It does, listen to it. Next up we have Deserted, and this one has some more furious double bass work, but this time it's over a riff that could almost, if it had less distortion on it, it could almost be on a hard rock album. It's quite an interesting riff, this one. I enjoyed this one a lot. After that, it goes into some full-on gent style riffage. The chorus on this song as well reminded me of something else as well. I can't for the life of me place what it is. If you got any idea, leave a comment below, because I'm sure you'll know what you mean when you hear this chorus. There's something there, I can't quite place it, so yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on this one. I also really enjoyed the faster version of the riff that they play the song out with. Next up we have We Ride, which is pretty much a faithful cover of the Strapping Young Lad song from their Alien album. I'm a huge fan of Strapping Young Lad and Devin Townsend in general, so it was really cool to hear this song. They do a pretty damn good job of it. And for those of you who are wondering, I still am going to be doing my Devin Townsend album ranking at some point, so just hang in there. It's taken a long time to put together. He's got over 20 albums, for God's sake. Next up we have Cold Arrival, and I felt that this one had a bit more of a symphonic death metal sort of vibe to it, but luckily with less pomp. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the symphonic bands, but this one used it kind of sparingly, and yeah, it worked. One thing that really impressed me on this one, you can really hear Lauren pushing herself vocally. She's got an impressive range, and she seems to be someone who's dedicated to really seeing what she can do, pushing what she can do. Finally, we have Only in Death, and this one started out with almost like an indie kind of sounding riff before the distortion really kicked in and amped things up. There were also some great melodic lead lines as well that reminded me more of some progressive bands like Dream Theater or Opeth. Had that kind of really clean, you know, glassy melodic lead sound. It's really good. Some of the riffs on this song are disgusting in a good way. I felt that this was a really strong track to see the album out. So there we have it, a very enjoyable album, and one that I was not expecting. I'm not saying that I didn't think this album was going to be any good at all, but I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it is. Logan and Max make a really good guitar duo. There were fantastic riffs, really inventive, creative riffs, a lot of really melodic leads, very tastefully done throughout. Like I said earlier, it's really cool to see how far Logan has progressed as a musician, as a guitarist, as a producer. It doesn't sound anything like Machine Head as well, which not that I was necessarily expecting it to, but when you've got somebody who's come from such a revered band, it would have been easy to maybe try and do something in a similar vein, and that's not what's happened here at all. Some of it is quite derivative of other bands, but I think they definitely have their own thing going. Dylan behind the kit, god damn, that guy can play. There were some really, really impressive drum lines throughout this album, and Lauren is just absolutely fantastic. I was not expecting her to be as good as she is. I do, like I said, I do remember checking out some of those other videos from the earlier stuff when they came out, and I don't remember being that impressed. She could clearly do the guttural growls, but you know, it kind of seemed quite generic. It kind of really feels like on this album, however, she's really started to come into her own. Not only do you have the guttural, more feral death growls that you'd expect for this sort of music, but she can genuinely sing, and she can really express emotion. I think there was an interview that she did recently with Metal Hammer, I think it might have been. A lot of this was, of course, recorded in lockdown, like a lot of bands have over the last couple of years. And normally her lyrics are very positive, but I think she was saying how a lot of the stuff in this is actually a little more, not negative, but you know, a little more raw, shall we say? And but she expresses it really well. You know, the way she expresses herself with her voice is actually really, really good to hear. And I think basically this band, they show a lot of scope for progression. And I think this is a band to look out for. I think they're going to be going places. I'm really intrigued to see where they go with their next one. It's pretty clear right now that along with bands like Venom Prison, some of these female fronted bands, they're really kicking ass, man. And it's, you know, it's a good thing to see. And it's, I mean, this year already has been a great one for music. We've already had so many killer albums coming out already. And this is another one of them. In terms of a score, I think I'd give this an 8 out of 10 right now. This might, you know, I've got a feeling this could go up. This might be one of those ones that could potentially be, you know, up there in the albums of the year category. It's a really, really strong album that I was not expecting. It'd be good to see how I feel about it with the subsequent listens. You know, maybe there was that kind of, you know, shock initially of like, wow, I wasn't expecting this. But I don't think so. I think, you know, this is a genuinely great album. Genuinely well put together songs. The instrumentation's fantastic, and as I said, I think all the band members show a great deal of, I think there's a lot of scope there. I think there's a lot of scope for progression. So yeah, definitely check this album out. I think you're going to enjoy it. I was really, really impressed with this one. So there we go, one video down. I've got a load of videos coming out this, well, certainly over the next 4 or 5 days. So we've got the new Napalm Death mini album. We've got the new Voivod album. We've got the new Zeal and Ardor album. I will be reviewing all 3 of those, definitely. What else do we have? We also have Cult of Luna. We also have, stop saying we also have the new Author and Punisher album, and there's the new Slash album as well. So that's, yeah, 7 albums in all that have come out on the Friday the 11th of February 2022, don't you know. I'm going to try and, well, I'm going to review all of them one way or the other. Whether I do individual videos for them or whether some of them will start, you know, going together as one video where I review multiple albums, I don't quite know yet, but I'm going to review them all one way or t'other. For those of you as well who enjoy the walking videos that I do, rest assured that I will be returning to that soon. It's that shit time of year. I'm at work all week, and by the time I finish work it's dark. It's mostly cold all the time as well. So I've only got so much time to be able to do stuff, but the summer months are starting to approach, or at least the spring months are starting to approach, and I will be getting out on the hill again, and I will be continuing doing these album reviews. Without further ado, I'm going to head off. But if you have made it this far, make sure that you drop a like on the video, and yeah, stay tuned for the rest. Put notifications back on. I don't know how many of you I lost doing those reaction videos. A lot of you seem to zone out from the channel for that, but I can assure you I'm back with the reviews. I'll catch you later, guys.